Welcome to Diary of an Unemployed Actor, with me, Milo Dennison. Each week I speak with up-and-coming actors, actresses, and filmmakers about the entertainment industry. We discuss success, failure, and share a few tips to inspire those of you who have a passion for the creative arts. This week I'm speaking with Jason Henry. He is primarily a voiceover actor, and you can definitely tell it from this conversation that we have. I didn't realize till the end of the conversation that he was actually dialing from his phone, and you really couldn't tell. You would have thought he was using a proper microphone. And in talking to him, it's good to listen where he kind of talks about some of the ups and downs of the business, which is, sometimes people are looking for your voice and sometimes they're not looking for your voice, and you just kind of got to go with the flow. We also spend a decent amount of time just chatting about movies and the industry and what it is about certain actors and performers that make them good, or their dedication to the role. So it's not your typical question and answer type interview that I do for this show. It's more of just kind of two guys having a chat about filmmaking. But it's also full of a lot of really good information, especially if you're looking to get into voiceover, and just to kind of feel encouraged about that. Even though people might be SAG-AFTRA members, doesn't necessarily mean that they're instantly getting work and they're instantly rowing in auditions and offers and big budget action flicks, that even SAG-AFTRA members are still kind of struggling in a lot of ways. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Okay, all right. So what do you, just to ask you, what are you setting the foundation of this podcast around? Or is it just you talking to another unemployed actor, like the title says?
That's
because
pretty much it.
Right now, okay, all right, that's cool. Yeah, because the struggle is definitely real right now for me, as far as with the, I'm a voiceover actor. I am through SAG. Mm-hmm. But might as well say I'm non-union right now, because to find work is, you gotta get creative. You have to be resourceful. And there's only so many SAG actors out there. And everybody thinks because you're SAG, you're automatically making money like Denzel Washington or Tom Cruise. And I just laugh at that notion, because I almost look at it like, because I'm a big fan and a big MMA and kickboxing or boxing enthusiast. And I look at it the same way I look at professional athletes or fighters. It's like, when you're an undercard fighter, everybody thinks because you're a pro boxer, you're making money like Floyd Mayweather. It's like, yeah, not really. You have to build up a record. You have to, have a reputation, be marketable, and then the money comes. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to build a brand around yourself, and you have to constantly sell yourself. And then, of course, find the thing that someone else isn't doing, that's your niche, and then hone in on that, and then become what you become what you wish to become. And you hopefully end up doing the things that, you want to do, with the brand that you've created for yourself.
Well, that's the thing. Like, people think, oh, you're in SAG, you're in, but it really just means you did enough to get into SAG, so that now that you're paying the dues, so it just makes you eligible, more eligible for SAG gigs, but it doesn't necessarily get you any more work.
Right. Matter of fact, it actually limits your work, because you're in SAG now, you're in competition with, so you're gunning for probably the same part or the same position that everyone else is gunning for. And at times it can be unfortunate, because it's the same rat race with non-union. Of course, you're not as protected. You don't have as many, you're not in a union or anything like that. But as a non-union, or as I would look at it, like amateur status or whatever like that, you're building a record for yourself. You're building your resume, and you're getting the experience that you need. And it doesn't necessarily mean you can't get representation. You can, I had an agency before I got SAG. And, I'm blessed enough to still be with them right now. But due to the pandemic, and then due to the fact of, this weather, it's kind of slowed a lot of stuff down. It really just kind of limits the opportunities for you to kind of go out there and do it. You definitely have to get resourceful. You definitely have to, find a way where, okay, if the agency can't do that for you, and I'm sorry, did you start the show already or
Yeah,
did
we're
you?
right in it. No problem. Yeah,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
was like,
usually
man,
kind of instigate it, but you went straight into it. So I'm like, heck yeah, let him talk, man. That's great.
okay. Yeah, but I mean, it's literally like that. I mean, I've had to what I've done within the past few months is definitely called a lot of advertising marketing agencies and just tried to see if they're looking for a voice. And what's funny about it is that voice acting is cool. It's definitely hit. I want to say it's on the cusp of hitting mainstream, especially with successful shows going back as far as, I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to guess. You sound like a mature dude, so I'm gonna maybe assume you heard about the Tracy Ullman show.
Yep. I
And
know Tracy. Yep.
you remember the 1 minute skits that The Simpsons used to
Mm-hmm.
be on. And I
Yep.
only remember me and my older brother we would we loved watching cartoons, especially cartoons we could watch after, the afternoon times and see them at prime time hours like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night or something like that to catch a cartoon. And growing up in my era after hours, after, when the sun was out, that was awesome to me. So to see this 1 minute skit on this improv show that, at the time she was hitting it really big. And, also she was a foreigner, coming over here, hitting the mainstream on Fox television. That was a big deal. And so we saw this 1 minute skit and we didn't know what the heck it was, but, we saw this little kid with a spiked hair. We saw this overweight dad with a bald head and he's playing catch with him. And they're just having these funny little 1 minute schemes. And it wasn't very well drawn cartoons, but it was just something fun to watch. And the next thing you know, they're doing a spinoff. And it's like coming from the Tracy Ullman show, you have The Simpsons. So shows like that, Archer, I believe there was a older one, Dr. Katz or something like that. Then there was C Lab 2020 or Mystery Theater or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
With those three,
the guys talking about the screen thing.
Yeah, the guys that pretty much were talking throughout the entire film and stuff like that. I think it was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 or something like that. Or I don't know if it was one of the creators or both of the creators that actually came from the Mystery Science Theater that created Archer. And they, that's on FX and it's been going on. I mean, what, 10
quite a few years,
seasons
man. I
now?
love that show. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. I just watched the one where Archer finally wakes up from his coma for 3 years, and
I haven't.
He's kind of he's back in the mix. Okay, I won't ruin it for you.
Yeah, don't ruin it because I know that's the new season, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the new season yet.
I literally just bought it on YouTube because I was like, I'm watching all of this. I can literally watch this in one day, and I ended up doing the same thing. So. Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch, but yeah, they definitely always change things up, which I love.
It's funny that you mentioned it because you're talking about voiceover, and that's an interesting example is Archer, because the main guy that does Archer, he really sounds like that versus most voiceover work. So you mentioned The Simpsons, to where one person does maybe the voice of 3 or 4 characters on The Simpsons.
Seth MacFarlane, like Family Guy.
Family Guy, exactly, does all the voices. Yeah.
Seth Green. Seth Green doesn't sound like Seth Green when he's on the Family Guy for his character.
Yeah.
He's complete 180 from, the Seth Green I know from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer days. And, the movies that he's done, like Enemy of the State, when he's playing I don't want to call him a computer geek, but he was definitely a tech guy in the film or whatever like that. A part of, I think, working for the government or whatever. And, just the from the small roles to the lead roles that he had and stuff like that. I never would have guessed it was Seth. I never. And then you go even further back to, I want to say my era, the 80s and the 90s, when I used to watch Transformers, the guy who does Optimus Prime, I'm like, oh my God, I never would have guessed that his voice, that kind of range of voice came from that guy. Because when you see the guy, he's not a big, muscular, menacing figure. He's this, elderly age guy, but the voice he has is so powerful. and so moving. It's like, geez, man, that dude, he can move mountains with that voice, you know? Yeah, it was, that was also a funny time because, you know, as a kid, you look at the cartoons back when I was growing up and you didn't even think a job like that was possible. It's like, you know, you're just into the cartoon. You forget that there are voices behind it. Those are actors doing that, but the work wasn't as prominent or dominant as it is now, or just like, you know, definitely Comic-Con. You definitely see a you know, a huge amount of followers in whatever genre of cartoons or TV shows that, you know, have voiceovers in it, and mainly, of course, the anime or even, you know, the cartoons we have here in America that whether they crossed over or they were developed here. Yeah. There's definitely a huge following for that. But well, I don't know if you, no, go ahead.
There's probably, and there's a lot more opportunity now too, because you've got one, animation is done on a computer now versus, you know, stills being drawn. So they can actually, you know, crank out more of it, but there's more places to see animation between cable TV and video on demand and, you know, Hulu and Netflix and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like there's a lot more opportunity now for voiceover artists than say 20 years ago, where it was a much smaller club to be a voiceover artist.
Absolutely. But it's still, you know, I'm still at the foundation where I'm still trying to break in. Mm-hmm. You know, I've had some success with having some jobs here and there within the, you know, I've been a voiceover actor for almost, it's going on 4 years now. And I want to say the first 2 years, it was beautiful. It wasn't like in the beginning I had to go through the struggle. It was actually complete opposite. It was like, it came to me not easy, but it just started, you know, kind of like coming to me in a way where it was like, man, you know, it seems like it's going to last forever. You know, I wasn't cutting 6-figure checks, thank God, because I should probably be in therapy or something like that, crying. But I can definitely say that with some of the commercials that I've done and, you know, and the work that I was doing, I was like, man, I could get used to this. I could really get used to it. And then, of course, even before the pandemic, I want to say my third year it got rough, you know, because it's funny. It's like when they're in the market for a certain type of voice, yeah, they want you, you're hot. When that dies out or there's just literally no work. And then the pandemic hit, it was just like, I started asking myself those questions, like, do I really need an agent?
Yeah.
Do I really need an agent? Like, they haven't called me in months, or, you know, you're literally you have to get resourceful. You have to try to find ways to, I mean, in some ways I felt like I wasn't represented anymore. And that's not to discredit my agency, but it felt like everything stood still. And you start asking those age-old questions that I'm sure everybody's crossed with it as a working actor, period. Is this going to work out for me? Am I going to find something? How am I going to pay this bill, pay these bills? What kind of work can I do? Is this, when I get the job, how long am I going to do the job for? Is it going to interfere when something pops up? Is something going to pop up? You know, and it's just like, it's a snowball effect of those constant questions that run through your head. Even when you do have job security, you're saving your money, you're still able to get through your day to day. But in the back of your mind, it's like, was it about the money? And it slowly but surely you realize, I'm doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because I'm passionate about it. But is my passion ever going to come back? Is it ever going to come back to the point where the jobs will be plentiful and, you know, I'll actually have more of a better appreciation for it this time? Or did I miss my window? Is it over?
Yeah, it's a crazy stressful industry that I don't think people outside realize, because you're unemployed or you're working or you're unemployed again. And that is literally just you spend your unemployment time trying to find that next gig, knowing at some point that gig's going to end and you're going to be unemployed again. So there's a real lack of stability in it that you need to be able to handle in order to do the job. It's not just showing up and saying your lines and then going in, you know, doing interviews on, you know, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of a talk show host or whatever, but like, you're not doing an interview on Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, you know, it's you're constantly struggling to get that next gig. And you're right. Like it rotates too, like what's in and what's not in. And you know, sometimes you're in and sometimes you're not in.
Right. And you know, the other thing is that I think that's why we salute the actors that's been able to hang, even the actors that we don't think that can, you know, that don't have the chops. You know, you still got to respect him for the fact that, hey, he's been able to stay around this long. He's been able to, you know, he or she has been able to land these gigs. And sometimes, you know, you see it. There's some actors, I'm not going to say any names, but you see some actors that where they're around for their looks. Yep. And their look is the look that, you know, they'll probably even they'll take care of that person so much to the point where they'll give that person acting coaches. Or it'll be a flip side. They may have no acting chops, but they have what they call, you know, the it factor. Yep. They have the presence, they have the look, and then they're blessed enough to have enough real world experience, as I'll call it, to interpret or incorporate some of their past life experience onto the screen. Because that, I mean, you get to see that with a lot of actors, even who have had training where they just fit a role. They fit that one role so well because it's so close to who they truly are. Case in point, James Gandolfini. He's from Jersey. I believe it was his family knew the Travolta family because I think it was either the Travolta family had like a tire shop or something like that in Jersey, and the Gandolfini family would go there to get their tires changed or something like that. The point I'm trying to make is when Jim played Tony, a guy who was originally from Jersey, and then he came from that quintessential Italian upbringing. It was very easy for him to relate to Tony's character as far as from the family perspective, being from Jersey. The foundation was there.
Yeah.
So now you add into the fact that he's done he did 2-3 years of Meisner study and acting training and actually going, you know, the fact that he was he went to Rutgers. He got his degree in communications. He found a way to become a nightclub manager at this club. I don't know where. I think it was in even New York or New Jersey, but the place was called Private Eyes, and it was straight 2 nights a week, gay 2 nights a week, and then mixed up every other 2 nights after. Like it would be like that, and because he had basically faked it till he made it, kind of attitude, being a manager at this nightclub, he saw a lot of interesting, and I'll just say it, street stuff that he took with him. He kind of took mental notes with him where he was able to play these characters that we saw, like the Quentin Tarantino. Well, it was written by Quentin Tarantino. I believe it was, I forgot who the director was, but the really great movie, I want to say the 20th century Bonnie and Clyde film, True Romance with, oh my gosh,
Christian Slater,
Christian Slater, and Patricia Arquette. And then it had all the cameo appearances of the up and comers. Sam Jackson was in it, Brad Pitt, all those guys. And he was on the inside the actor's studio when he was talking to Jim and about the character he played as the hitman. And he didn't, of course, he's never going to reveal the name of the person. I totally
forgot that until you mentioned that. You're right. He was the hitman in that. Yeah.
He was the hitman in that. And he was a little bit slimmer. He also played in
bit younger,
yeah. He played in another film called, I think it was Gia with oh my God. She was married to
Angelina Jolie.
No.
Not that one. Okay.
The one where he had a very small role in it, and oh my God, I can't think of her name.
Is that the one where he was like a gay hitman?
No. I know which one you're talking. That's the Mexican with Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts.
That's right. Yeah.
I think he was gay in that. He was a gay hitman in that, but he wasn't really intimidated. He's actually he actually socialized with Julia and, you know, and stuff like that in the film with his character and stuff like that. Which I found it was kind of like offbeat comedy to me or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the movie, but not Gia. because Gia was Angelina Jolie. She played the model.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one you're talking about either. But either way, he played a hitman. Like so playing a hitman, working in smack my thing here, playing a hitman, working in a nightclub, being around that people, is able to kind of take from that and be and not just kind of be it more so than just copy it. So doing a New Jersey accent, I mean, he can do he's doing a New Jersey accent because he knows a New Jersey accent. Whereas like if we're doing a New Jersey accent, we're faking an accent and hopefully getting by doing it,
Exactly. I mean, on either that or we're taking a dialect course or a speech course, getting a coach to help or get someone that we can speak to, because I believe it was Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is a well-ranged actor. And the point I was going to make with him is when he was in True Romance, he played, he's a white guy, but he's playing like he's black.
Yep.
And he actually was able to get the slang and the dialect, the speech of how to speak like that, because he was actually on the set of the film. And he heard some guys talking. I'm sure they were some brothers. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Hey, yo, man, come over here." And he had him come into his trailer. And he said, "Just talk. I just want you to talk." And he just recorded his voice. And he was able to pick up that nugget from him. And that, once again, that was his acting chops, where he was able to, because you have great actors that are able to pick up the sound of something and pick up, and able to interpret and incorporate that into their method of acting. And they're able to take it. They don't need a coach. They don't need a speech coach. They don't need to, unless they're coming from the UK and they need to speak American or something like that. But, for Gary Oldman's case, he was able to not only, do the American accent, but to actually speak in a certain way where it was just like, I could speak on about him all damn day. Excuse my language. But
no, I'm with you, man. Gary Oldman is, I think, probably one of the greatest living actors, because he can literally do anything. Yeah. Christian Bale, I remember I was seeing something and he was talking about asking Gary Oldman when Gary Oldman played Churchill. And because you put the fat suit on and stuff like that, Christian Bale, he feels the need to get fat for roles or lose all his weight for roles. And he talks to Gary Oldman and he's like, "So how'd you put on the weight and stuff for Churchill?" And Gary Oldman's like, "I didn't, man. It was a fat suit." Like, but he's so talented that he can do that and be believable at it. And it's funny watching an interview with him, because his natural voice is so different from almost every character he plays.
Oh yeah.
So
you can
good.
tell he works on it. De Niro was De Niro was definitely one of the first I saw who actually got into his role when he played, Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull, when he gained over 60 pounds, because they actually tried to put a fat suit on him. And he was basically like, I think he looked in the mirror or something, and he was like, "This is not going to work." He said that the fat suit is not, I got to make this believable. So he literally went on an eating binge, whatever he could have. I've seen a few actors do that. Christian Bale was definitely the most extreme that I've seen, next to De Niro. Yeah. As far as like, weight changing. And oh my God.
Well, he's apparently got health issues because of it now. I saw something about him, and he was talking about losing weight and putting on weight to the extreme that he does. He's got health issues now.
Well, I'm not surprised. Look at what he did in the Machinist. And then he gained all that weight back for Batman.
Yeah.
It was just that's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
It definitely puts a lot of stress on the body. No doubt. No question. And if they're doing it when they're young, it's a little bit easier for your body to bounce back. But he was already because he was in his late 20s, early 30s between the time he did Batman Begins and the Machinist, or the Machinist, the Machinist and stuff like that. But by the time he did Terminator Salvation, Vice, and all that, when he started getting into his later years, it's like, all right, I see what you're doing. And then, of course, The Fighter, when he lost weight again because he had to look like a drug addict.
Yeah.
it was just like, it's just you're pushing it, dude. I respect your craft, but I respect what you're doing. I always hailed you, but you're kind of putting your body in a pickle here.
Yeah.
You know? so he's like one of those guys where it's like, okay, you're a little too dedicated. I need you to go home and just relax, you know. But you know, you see a lot of that. Matt Damon did it for Saving Private Ryan, but for the Meg Ryan film when she was supposed to be getting her character was supposed to be getting a medal, and it was Denzel Washington was in it, and he literally lost weight because he was a drug addict, and he only ate chicken and a lemon. John Travolta gained weight for Primary Colors.
Tom Hanks has done it a couple times for
Castaway,
and Philadelphia. Was it Philadelphia? Yeah, Philadelphia. I think
Philadelphia. He lost weight because he was supposed to, you know, had AIDS and he was losing weight and losing his hair and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty much it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's. I mean, if I could just get to the level where I'm working, let alone losing weight or just, you know, gaining weight or gaining muscle and being an action hero. I mean, just to get there is a big enough task to, you know, and then when you get there, it's like, okay, how long is my stay? You know, so it's always an up and down career. I think one of the documentaries that I respected the most, I've watched it several times over the past, oh my God, 6-7 years now, is You're That Guy in That Thing. It's an independent film that was made back in, I think it was like 2013, maybe 2012. And I watched it on Netflix for a time that they had it on there. And it was basically all these actors that were not A-listers. They're B-list actors. They're all SAG though. And they basically went through this document. I forgot how many male actors that they were documenting, but each of them, of course, had their own different background of how they got into, you know, the game of acting and stuff like that. And they still do it. But how hard it was for them to, let alone break in the industry, and just, they're still probably establishing themselves because they're not A-listers, but just to get steady work.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what to do when you have a family, their choices for why they choose certain films. There was this one guy, can't remember his name. He played in The Hills Have Eyes. He played one of the bad people, the villains. Yeah. And he said the only reason he did it was because he wanted to have a good reason behind it. And his good reason behind it was sending his daughter through college. And so he was like, okay, this is a good reason for me doing this. I don't want my daughter to watch this film. but I want to work so I can. He's like, okay, the only reason I'm doing this is, you know, because I want to put my child through college, and it's a good reason. It's a, you know, that's the perk of it for him. And then of course they had this one guy who lived like a hippie. They had no TV. They had pretty much damn near no electricity in the house or something like that. But you know, all his children read books and they did stuff with, you know, family stuff for entertainment instead of video games and stuff like that. So they were, you know, very bohemian type lifestyle or whatever like that. It was just really, it was a fun movie to watch. It was a fun movie to watch.
I'll have to check it out. The guy who was in that, is that what you just said it was?
No. You're That Guy in That Thing. Just type that in. You're That Guy in That Thing. And another good documentary I think I've watched both parts. It was I Know That Voice. It's based off the world of voice acting. And I got to hear the story behind I believe it was Mel Banks.
Yeah.
Banks. Yeah. The guy who did all of the Looney Tunes characters, all of them. And he had an accident one time where he was left paralyzed for a while. Or no, I'm sorry, he was in a coma. And in order to get him out of a coma, what they did was they started talking to the cartoon characters to him. And that's what woke him up, because he started speaking in Bugs Bunny and Daffy and all those characters. And they got him out of, that's how they woke him up. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was like, you gotta be kidding me. And that's how they woke him up. And that's how he was able to go back to work again. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's an interesting story. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what got you into wanting to be a voiceover artist?
Pure dumb luck. And the reason I say that is because I answered an ad on Craigslist of all places. and on Craig, it was late at night. It was back in 2016. Yeah, it was back in 2016. Or was it? Yeah, 2016, 2017. And I just wanted something to do. And this was late at night, right before I was about to go to work the next day. And they said they needed hand models for a construction commercial. They needed like worker hands. And I thought I had, pretty decent hands and stuff like that. And they say, we'll pay $250 if you show your hands out. $250. Hey, give it to me. All right.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of my hands, sent them, my information. So they said, well, come, meet us at this office. It's here in Chicago. The name of the production company was Original Six Media Group. And it was ran by a woman. Forgive me, I don't know her name anymore, but it was her production company. It was legit. Everything was above board. And she did children's books. Don't know if she still does them now, but she did children's books as well. So she's very successful in her own lane, independent. And she was shooting, they were shooting a commercial for this Olfa snap-off knife, cut-off knife. I didn't know that at the time because I go to the office and I'm just thinking they're going to take pictures of my hands. I'm going to get the money. And I go to the office and they're like, they take a look at me and they're like, forget the hands. Here, try on some of these construction worker clothes. And I'm like, man, where's the money at? I have a one-track mind. I'm just like, dude, pay me the bread so I can get out of here. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And they get me on camera and they have me read the lines. And I'm like, this doesn't have a damn thing to do with my hands. And, they were like, well, can you do it in a deeper voice? I was like, okay, for snap off knife, or whatever like that. And then they had me run through the lines. And I for sure thought I wasn't going to get it, Milo. I literally thought I wasn't going to get it because there was this one part they kept asking me to repeat. And I'm terrified of remembering lines. I hate it. And they ran me through it and they said, okay, we'll give you a call on that Friday. And I'm thinking that's the last I'm hearing of them. Or if I do, they're going to tell me they're going in ananother direction.
Well, that's usually the case. Yeah, they're like, hey, we'll call you. And it's like, okay, sure.
Let's do lunch. Right, right. The whole nine. And I'm just like, okay, that was a cool experience. And as much as I hate to admit it, I actually enjoyed it. And I don't hate to admit it, but I got the phone call and they was like, listen, we want you. Can you get off on this Thursday or can you get off on this Thursday or Friday? And I was just like, yeah, sure. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to change their mind. I'm still kind of skeptic. Mm-hmm. And I end up getting the commercial. It literally turns out to be an 8-hour day. I do the commercial and it gets produced. And while I was shooting the commercial, I'm not going to lie to you, man, I loved every minute of it. I had my own chair. I had a makeup artist. Every time I started sweating off the makeup, they would touch me up. And you get a little spoiled.
Yeah.
You get a little spoiled, man. You're like, ooh, I could get used. This is all right. Hey, so you're doing it. And then the commercial comes out and I showed it to I think the first few people I showed it to was just my immediate family. My mom and my dad saw it, and my mom, your parents are always proud of you, and stuff like that. But they were really proud of me. And my dad was like, man, you really got something going. You going to do this for real? And I was like, I don't know. I just, and I showed my brother who is a working actor. He's out in California right now with his wife. They've been out there for a few years now. And he's been going at it a lot longer in this business than I have. I think he's put close to 20 years into it. Went to school for it in the whole nine, segue into that. But, he saw the commercial and I really do respect and trust his opinion. He basically said, you got to do this. He just basically said, yo, you got to do this. We're going to get you, we're going to sort this out. I'm going to help you out. So he got me in contact with his old agency who I'm with now. Mm-hmm. And I've been with them ever since. And, you know, when I went to the agency, I was still kind of skeptic. I was still kind of like, this is nothing. This is gonna die out soon. And I go meet the guy. I go meet my agent, Brett Seacrest. Nice guy, great guy. You know, he basically sat me down, and I thought I was getting the Hollywood talk in the beginning, you know, like, I think I can get you some work. I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. The last guy said that.
Yeah. I'll make you famous. Don't worry.
Right. I'm going to make you a star, or something like, he didn't say that to me, thankfully, but, it was just, I felt it like it was along those lines. I was like, don't believe the hype. And after the time I got signed, because it was the commercial that got me in the door, because they don't just take anyone off the street. He said, I saw your commercial. I think you got some skills, and I would like to, represent you and get you out there. And I said, you know what? All right, so I signed with them, and he got me an audition. I want to say maybe sometime after the first week. And I was just like, that's when it hit me. I was like, okay, these guys aren't playing. He was serious. So I started looking at it seriously. I auditioned for a Northwestern medicine commercial. And of course there were other people in line for the position and stuff like that, for the role, or for the job or whatever. And next thing I know, I'm at and God bless them, they had to shut down due to the pandemic, but the Chicago Recording Company, which is on Ohio Street in the Loop. I want to say, going West Loop almost damn near, but they had to close it down now. And a lot of music artists like Lupe Fiasco, even Chance the Rapper, I got a chance to see him in passing. I didn't get a chance to shake hands with him or anything, but he had recorded there along with a few other, local, Chicago, Midwest, Chicago artists had recorded there, and it had a lot of history there. And I was blessed to have done more than one voiceover gig there. I was even blessed enough I want to say 3 years earlier, to when I took some advanced voiceover courses with this one guy who my teacher. He actually was we were both under the same agency, but he was also my teacher for the class at the Chicago Actors Studio. So I thought that was a pretty cool deal. And we got to work in a booth, and we got to work with all this kind of readings and stuff like that. And, and how you set it up, and the stuff I didn't know going into it, because I was still brand new. I was still fresh at the time. So I felt like there was things I needed to get down when I go in that booth, and not just, using one range of voice, because I know that would die out as it did. And getting more range, getting more, different dialect, knowing, those certain inflections and how to create characters and stuff like that. So that, just adding that into my repertoire, so yeah.
Okay. Last question for you, Jason. Social media or anything like that you want to shout out if people want to track you down or follow you?
You know what? If anyone's looking for me to do a voice for them, just contact me at jhenry79 at live.com. My Instagram page is jhenny, J.Henny, just to reach out to me. If you need me to do any voiceover work for you, or if you're looking for my kind of voice, just, hit me up. I'm always open to do, voiceover work. And I mean, as far as with prices, we can always negotiate with that.
When it sounds like you got a pretty decent studio there at home, is that what we're speaking on, or?
Actually, no. You just have me on my phone right now.
Oh, really?
I do have a home studio.
Okay.
That was given to me for a Christmas present from my parents. I love them for that. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah. So that was a big. That's the best present of person. That's the biggest toy I need right now. That's my hobby.
I got a text message from mine. Happy Merry Christmas. I'm like, yeah, thanks.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, because I've talked to a few people that have dialed in from their phone, and it usually sounds like crap. So I would not have thought you were on your phone at the moment.
I appreciate that.
Good connection. Yeah. Well, there you go, audience. If you need a kind of got that nice, deep, burly sounding voice, Jason Henry is the way to go.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. On the 80s and 90s Uncensored, listen to card-carrying Gen Xers, Milo and Jamie, as we banter, debate, and discuss various topics about the 80s and 90s.
If you're a miserable middle-aged office worker and your life sucks and essentially you don't have anything to look forward to, at least one day a week you have the 80s and 90s Uncensored.
We try to decide if Magnum and MacGyver were in a cage match, who would walk out.
We discuss if the problems between the left and the right can be attributed to those who watched Saved by the Bell and those who didn't.
We have the ultimate smackdown between Voyager versus Deep Space Nine.
And a lot of talk about movies and music from the era.
So flashback with us by subscribing on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast to enjoy a new episode of the 80s and 90s Uncensored every Monday.